Okay. Yeah. We live, I think. We live right now. Today is Sunday, June 23rd, 2020. And we're doing pretty good right now. Sunday, I'm recording. Everything's already set up. Why does it do that? I'm right here, dude. Sometimes the camera does whatever it wants to. Okay. Let's see if that helps. It seems to help. We'll see. We'll roll with it. We'll have to. I got a more moody type of look, so to speak. There we go. So we're doing pretty good. We're chilling in our favorite chair. I'm sure some people who know me know that I went to Texas A&M University, and the colors are maroon, so to speak. Rivals supposedly are Texas Longhorn, and their color is burnt orange. When I was on Wayfair many months ago, I wanted to get a chair, and as you can see through the pictures, the chair is burnt orange. It really is. Just like it. I don't care. I don't really care. So we're gonna pour some coffee. I have some coffee over there on the side that I forgot what it was. So we are just going to drink it for what it is, and we're gonna see. We're gonna see what it is now. We know what it is. Pretty cool. But we're doing pretty good today. All is well. Feeling pretty good. On my last podcast, I mentioned that I had a colonoscopy. It mostly checks out fine, but they just still want to do more tests. No polyps this time. Internal hemorrhoid or whatever. But I'm sure they're going to probably want to do more tests. So I keep you posted. I'm doing pretty good. Usually my wife is like, don't freak out. This is just procedure. Everybody has things sometimes. Just procedure. It is what it is. So it's all good. I feel great. All is well on my end. What did I do yesterday? Played around a little bit with the video that's going out Sunday. I have another video that's probably going to go out in an hour or two. Time of recording. I have a couple of videos this week. And then the one I'm working on, I think it's going to be really cool. It's about mugs. Nobody listened to these anyway, so it's about mugs. You know, coffee mugs and all that stuff. And it's almost done. It's looking pretty good. There's a couple things I do want to add to it, but we'll see. We'll see how all that stuff works out and all that good stuff, right? That's all we can do. Something about this arm was a little bit more secure. Something about it. It's not gelling right with me, especially when I have it at different angles, kind of weird off angles. But it's all good. We're going to fix it later. See if we get an Allen wrench and kind of play around with it that way. I think that could be probably more so the problem. But again, it's still a great arm. A lot better than the other one that I had. But what are we going to talk about today? Let's go ahead and talk about the thing that we're going to talk about. We're going to get into it, but we're going to talk about this coffee first. My saga with coffee in general. And we're going to go from there. But we're going to talk about refractometer. How much you should lean on them. How much you should trust them. And how the palate and gear kind of gets in the way of things sometimes. Other than that, that's what we got going. We're doing pretty good today. Refreshed. Things are moving in the right direction. So that's what I got going for me. I don't know how long this one's going to be. I'm going to finish this podcast. And after I finish this podcast, I'm going to go walk with the dog. And then I got some Formula One racing. I'll get to watch it live. I haven't watched really live one in a while. I mean, I kind of do, but you know, not when they exactly start. I usually watch it probably a 30 minutes, an hour off. But this time looks like I can probably go ahead and watch it at the time that it's going to be live. It's in Spain. We'll see what happens. We'll go from other than that. I've been frustrated with coffee for the past week or two. And it's mainly this new coffee. This Colombian coffee. I'm not really finding sweetness. I found it in espresso. Didn't really find it in light roast. I think I probably kind of did in lower temps. I think that's more so the same theme with the medium roast. So we're going to play around with that. But I did try as a dark roast and it's been working out pretty well. Dark roast is a lot sweeter. It just really is. Especially something that has like a fruit on it or something that's saying something. I tell you now, I swear I'm not sponsored by Nike, but if you were to look at the video, I look pretty cool. I got my mic that's off-white, got my shirt that's white, you know. I look pretty good in white. But yeah, it's been pissing me off, and just making coffee has been one of those things to where it's frustrating to be frustrated, right? And I guess that's a good thing. It's still kind of weird to not have a good tasting coffee for a while, because I'm trying different things, trying different recipes, pushing myself outside of the boundary. So that's what I've been doing. It's been interesting and challenging, really understanding the things that I'm trying to do and trying to focus on and all that good stuff. So, kind of speechless right now. Got a trip coming up on Thursday. It should be a pretty good trip. I don't know if I'm going to have another podcast for Friday, Sunday. I may do an extra one just to put it in. We'll see. I may get some more podcasts in when I'm over there with various peoples for whatever reason. I do have my mics coming in today. I'm really looking forward to that. But other than that, that's all I got, really. Let's go ahead and end this podcast. This is another short one. I've been falling off. I've been really falling off the train of doing bangers and all that good stuff, right? It's interesting. I just looked at my journal and I write in my journal every day. Like I said, I feel fine. When I looked at it today, I was like, man, wow, I'm up, I'm well. I get to write in my journal today. Little things that you think you take for granted from time to time. So it's kind of interesting to see for what they are and to go into things in a way to where you're like, it's an honor, it's a privilege to get these moments. So yeah, so it's interesting. So I don't know. I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm just looking forward to not doing as much as I did compared to what I did yesterday. Stay focused, get things done, and just be ready for the next thing. So I think what I'm going to do is spend as much time as I can editing the video for next week. And then once I do that, I will focus on other stuff, right? So it's 10 minutes in. Let's go ahead and get going. If this is going to be a short one, let's go ahead and get into it. I'm going to turn on more light so the people who actually look at these videos, they can see me demonstrating the stuff that I want to. Is that dog there? No, she's not there. So, we got light. So what I have in front of me in my hand is a refractometer. You open it up here, it has a little dot, and you put some coffee in that dot, and you push the button. After you push the button, it tells you the TDS, and then you have the app to where you can see what the TDS is. And then once you do that, you can figure out the extraction of the coffee. So I'm going to show you that right now. So here it is. They also have it on the iPad, which I'll probably be using a little bit more because it's a little bit more accurate. Not there you go. So you look at the TDS, right? And then when you look at the TDS, it tells you what the TDS is, and then from there there's more calculation that goes on with the whole thing, and you can get your extractions. And extractions range for, supposedly, which is true, good coffee, between 18 and 22 extract. 18, 22. You can go less than that or you go over that. If you go less than that, the coffee tends to be more sour. If you go over that, the coffee tends to be more bitter. So it correlates really well with what you're probably more so tasting in the cup. And it helps you out, to me, a lot, because it helps you gauge your recipes, seeing how much extraction you're really getting. That's like one of the reasons why I don't even stir anymore. Stirring in coffee was a big thing years ago. And then I just noticed that I either tended to get a little too aggressive with the stir, or I would not do it as much. So it will be less consistent. So the way that I really determined that was I did TDS meters. And when I did TDS meter, it was easy for me to see the actual extraction and what I was doing. And of course, you back it up with the palate to see what you were tasting, right? So let's go ahead and turn this light off. It's a little too much right now. Let's see if we can get it moody and all that good stuff. So yeah, so it tends to help you out in that front. There we go. We may leave that on. There we go. Let's turn it off. Yes, leave it on. So So yeah, so that's why I moved towards just pouring the coffee, having like a consistent type of rhythm when you're pouring the coffee. That's a little bit more accurate. So the TDS helps out in a lot of things. And what people don't realize too is that no matter what a roaster tells you, this is even coming from me, a roaster tells you, and they roast it the same every time, it's not the same coffee. Coffee has aged a little bit. Protocol is probably slightly different, probably different roaster operators that's roasting that coffee. It's different, development in that coffee, even though a lot of them are using computers in order to get the coffee to the same type of profile that they want. The coffee is not the same, still not the same. It's close to being the same, but it's still not the same. The reason why I'm saying that is because when you actually get that exact same coffee, let's just say you actually ordered the exact same coffee again, you tend to, what's the best way of saying that? You tend to you think you need to just do the exact same thing, and for the most part you can, but I guess that's part of the tweaking and kind of like filling it out and stuff. But I think a lot of people don't go into that in that way. They think that, okay, this coffee has been roasted the same inner outer temperature of the bean, I'm going to treat it the same. So that's what the TDS helps me out with. It helps me, gives me a good level playing field into understanding that coffee even more so, and I think that's extremely critical when you're talking about coffee and you're trying to understand it even more so when you're brewing it, that you get to a place where you can have a good starting place. And I think that's the beauty of a TDS meter, really. It's a place, it's a thing that pushes you further on in your journey. To me, I look at it as like this. We're going to go back to Formula One. A lot of times when they talk about Formula One, they talk about people who race cars, right? Everybody has some good skill involved in what they're doing. They always talk about how it only takes a couple of laps for them to really understand the track. That's what the TDS meter does for me. It gets me there a lot faster. Once it gets there, then I can tweak according to what I like in a coffee. And I think that's where the TDS meter kind of goes too far to an extent, meaning that when you trust it and you're about it and you figure it out, you tend to rely on it for your taste. And I do that quite a bit. I do that quite a bit, to the point to where if it doesn't fall within the realm of the TDS meter, then I'm like, it sucks. But also what it does, is that it lets you allow you to realize that this coffee is actually sour. That's really what you're tasting, the sourness in the coffee. Or it's too bitter. So it helps you dial it back in to kind of see if you can play around with it in those parameters. Like, for instance, I know for sure I don't like a coffee that's over 22% extraction. I like it probably in the 19 to 20 extraction level. Then 17 can be actually okay, but anything lower than that, it gets to tend to be a little bit more sour and not a pleasing cup. But each coffee is different, and that's the beauty of coffee to me. And also the frustrating part of coffee is that you don't really know what you're gonna get. Even me knowing that I roasted it the way I wanted to or had to, or the way it came out, it's one of those things to where you're like, wait, I need to like dial it in. I need to like kind of figure it out. I need to play around with the coffee. So it's quite interesting. It's quite interesting to kind of really get to the point of really exploring and trusting gears, but also trusting the palate. And I think that times that's the thing that's missed in the coffee journey, at least for me. I think people who don't necessarily have the gear, they do that all the time. And, when you have the palate to see what you're tasting, yes, that's the ultimate judger. But it's interesting how people sometimes say like, sensory this, sensory that, and all that good stuff. Yes, that's important. But sometimes we tend to pick what we want to care about quite a bit. It's okay. So it's okay to use gear or computers in this case, but then in other cases it's not. So it's kind of interesting how we were picking and choosing the things that we care about, but that's okay then. I think that's the beauty of all of this, is that we can choose and figure out things the way that we want to in order to truly really understand what's important to us, if that makes any sense. So the refractometer, it will always be in my repertoire, in my toolbox, and I think that's one of the episodes I will make, like talking about the tools and talking about how we're going to go ahead and figure out the next steps of coffee brewing and all that good stuff. So we're going to have the TDS meter, we're going to have the color grader, and then we're going to have our palette, kind of figure that out too, and kind of see if we can make any type of correlation between what we're tasting, the experience that we're having, and really the goal of coffee making. I think that's the thing that I would like to do more of. It's like, okay, what are we really doing? I know it's not that serious, it's coffee making, but no, we're going to go in that rabbit hole just because I want to go in that rabbit hole. It's like, okay, what's the point of this coffee? What is the objective? What are we really trying to get at when we're talking about coffee? Because it could be different for whatever reason. And I think that's the beauty of it. I can be like, okay, this French press, this Brazilian, which I'm going to do a video of actually. What is the objective of this coffee? What's the goal of this coffee? What am I really trying to do here? What am I trying to figure out? I think that's pretty cool. Like if you have like a real objective of really what you're trying to get out of the coffee for that day, for that morning, for that week, that's pretty fucking badass. I think so. Make a series out of it, right? But that's the beauty of all these gears and how you go about it and objectively see what you're seeing, but also making sure that the palate, the sensory of the palate, is the one thing that really comes into mind when you go about tasting and enjoying your coffee. Because I think that's the biggest goal of all. Even though we may have different challenges, different things that we're looking for in coffee, I believe that the ultimate goal still is taste. Like, is this taste? Is this going to be taste? Is it going to be good? Is it going to be fantastic? That's more so the thing that we are trying to get at and trying to understand. Because this coffee right now, it's okay. I need some dark roast. Why not? And that's what it is. I'm not really feeling the connection with this coffee. But again, it's like, okay, what am I going to do with this coffee? What am I really tasting? What do I want the challenge to be? And I think having that mindset will actually spark more curiosity into coffee, you know, making it a game, making it more of an exploration type of situation. I think that's going to be one of the biggest things that is going to be a big deal once we get there. I think we're going to be ready to rock and roll. And I think it's going to be a place to where people can really relate to the things that they care about in coffee. And then they can go do other stuff with their days, right? And that's the beauty of all this stuff, is that we all can have a good time with the things that we're trying to do. And it's okay to geek out into what matters the most, right? So it'll be interesting. We'll see. We'll see how everything works out, and we'll go from there. So we live right now. We live out, I guess. I don't know what that means. I like we live in the beginning. So we're just going to say,